I'm actually going to film this Q&A. Look, I am aware. I know. I'm aware of how long it took me to do this, to make this Q&A. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to comment. Olivia, it took you so long. I know. I'm aware. I need a haircut. I'm also aware of that. But that's going to wait until this weekend. So you get pre-haircut management bandana. I'm going to cut a couple of these things up. It's going to be like personal questions, witchy questions, poll questions, and other. I don't know. Patreons actually already have their Q&A. They had it like a month or two ago. Yeah, the Patreon questions were really good. Got me a little teary-eyed, but we're also not going to talk about that. Okay, so first question. Did you grow up in Denver and would you move anywhere else? Yes, I did grow up in Denver. And then I moved out and I moved to LA because I was dating somebody who was moving out there and I just never wanted to stay in Denver. I definitely didn't want to live in LA, but it was a starting point, you know, like I was like, well, it'll get me out. And neither of us were planning to stay in LA. So we ended up moving there and I'm glad that I did. While I would never stay in LA. It was never a place that I would have chosen on my own to live. I'm glad that I did because I met some people that are incredibly important to me. Would I ever move anywhere else? See, this is the hard thing is there's not really a place in the world for me specifically that feels like home. I mean, like I do love Colorado. I really love it because it does feel like I grew up here, you know, so it feels like that kind of home, but it doesn't feel like the home that I want to stay in. Ever since I was little, I have known that I've always wanted to travel. I always tell people that's my first love is traveling. So I don't know if it's in the US, I don't know if it's outside, but I have this really deep need to just travel and learn things. And I don't think I've seen nearly enough of the world to decide if I want to live anywhere in particular. And the issue is every place that I've been has had its pros and cons. Like that's just how it is. You know, like there's not one place that I'm like, this is perfect yet. Maybe there will be something perfect for me, but at the moment, there's not really a place that I would move permanently. However, I do want to live in different places. I want to be able to not just visit, I want to like really live there and just kind of get an idea of what it would be like to live there, what it would be like to be a local. So I could go into that question a lot. What is something that you wish you could experience for the first time again? So many things, especially due to the nature of my practice, of how it's really heavily based within seasonal changes and death and life, you know. I think kind of everything. Actually, no, there's a lot of things that I would have loved to not ever experience, but there's certain days with certain people, or even like just certain amount of time with certain people that I really would love to experience that for the first time, just because there's nothing else like it. And there were just moments and feelings and just like that experience alone, or how it was, is just not something that I can really see myself having ever again. And with each person, you know, those were very different, but each of those things I would have really liked to experience for the first time again. Anything about your cat, really? How are they? Any luck with searching for the cat sibling? So this actually came up a lot. So Bane is fine. I still call him the Bean, and with my Spanish teacher, we call him Señor Friole. So I think that's funny as hell. He's good. He's chilling. He's living his best life. You know, he's adorable and ungodly annoying. He's good. So as for the cat sibling, I am not doing that anymore. You know, things have changed drastically. So when I was searching for the cat sibling, when I was getting the cat in the first place, my original plan was that in the house that I was living with my ex, you know, I was planning on just living there and hoping that I could travel a lot and kind of use that as a home base. Obviously, that's not the plan anymore. I'm not living in that house anymore. I'm not with my ex anymore, obviously. And so I am not really planning on living any place permanently at the moment. I'm going to be hopping around a lot. So within my next vlogs in the next I don't even know when. I will be hopping around a ton. So I am taking Bane. That's my plan. I'm going to be traveling slowly. Hopefully, I'm not going to be like hopping from one place to another every other week. Like, I'm hoping that I can stay in each place like a minimum of 3 months. Kind of trying to get Bane a little more comfortable with traveling and being out. So we're introducing those things slowly. But I'm not looking for another cat because if I would have known that this is where my life was going, I wouldn't have adopted a cat in the first place. I'm so glad that I have him because he got me through a lot of things that I really needed support through. You know, having him and traveling is going to be difficult and just one extra thing. So even just looking for another cat would be just not smart. What's a skill you're proud to have but rarely get to use or show off? I don't know. I don't really feel like I have a lot of skills, to be honest. I think I'm pretty good at like interior designing to a degree. Oh, you know what? I think I'm crafty. I think, but I feel like I get to show that off sometimes. So I don't know, but I think that I'm really crafty. I'm scrappy, I guess. I don't know if that's a good word for it, but you know, I grew up with a family that we didn't have a ton of money. So we thrifted a lot. And when I wanted something but couldn't have the the thing that you just buy, we would just kind of try to makeshift something for it, or learned how to see things kind of outside of the box of what you would originally look at something for. So I think I like that I'm pretty good with DIY. I'm pretty good with being crafty and scrappy, and I like being able to customize things. So I think I have a pretty good eye for that. But I don't know if I would say that I rarely get to show that off, but it's not something that's rare. Can we see your Spotify rap? Oh, I don't know if I have it's March. I'm so sorry. It's March. So if I can find it, I will put it up here. Yeah. Also keep in mind, I'm a dance instructor. So a lot of these songs, while they are songs that I like, I'm lucky that I only get to choose songs that I like. A lot of these songs that you'll see are choreo songs that I played on literal repeat. Like I didn't listen to anything else for a week. So there's that. But that also means that I was obsessed with the song. So I don't know if that counts. What is your favorite gag in Hundreds of Beavers? For those of you who don't know, I was in this movie called Hundreds of Beavers. It's a very cute, like lighthearted slapstick silent film. Don't ask how I got involved. I don't really know. I just kind of agreed to it. I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. And now it's gaining a lot of traction, which I think is hilarious. But my favorite gag, I mean, personally, I'm biased. So obviously I think it was my character making the main character get caught by her dad and like having her dad kick his ass or something. But I also kind of liked the scene with the snowman and the snow dog. That was a good one. This may have been asked before, but where do you usually get your clothes? I love your style so much. Thank you. I don't really have a specific place. I have curated it to I know kind of what shapes and what shades and styles-ish that I like on myself. I thrift almost all of my clothes. Like all of the clothes that people really love, I have ended up thrifting more likely than not. And if not, I will usually try to tag the brands because I usually try to shop like boutique or smaller or things like that. So I'm sorry, I don't really have a specific place that I get my clothes. How did you know that doing YouTube and mostly pole was something you wanted to pursue? It wasn't a point that I was yes, that's the thing. I don't know. I don't think there was a definitive point. I think it was just more of I was just following things that I enjoy and things that I feel enrich my life. So there wasn't really a point that I was oh, I have to be a YouTuber. This is not at all what I thought my job was ever going to be, but I'm grateful for it. I know that pole, when I first started dancing, way back in 2015, when I first started dancing, it was just not something that I was thinking I was going to pursue that long. I definitely knew that I like wanted to continue to dance, but I didn't think I wanted to teach. And then it just kind of fell into my lap. There was a point that I'm like, you know what, I think I would really like to try teaching this, maybe just kind of like once a week, something small. And that was back in 2018. I actually posted a Vlogmas where I quit my job and pursued YouTube full time. I was doing nothing but restaurant jobs. And there was one job that at this ramen shop in LA that I got hit by a car when I was on my bike riding there. And I called them and I was like, hey, I'm gonna be like 10 minutes late because I'm shaking so bad because the adrenaline. I was like, I can't, I'm walking to work right now. And when I got there, they were like, hey, you need to like tell us when you're gonna be late in advance, please. And I was like, I got hit by a car. Just like they did not care. And ever since then, my hip's been real fucked up. So yeah. And after that, I think I was like, fuck this, actually, because I was doing YouTube enough to the point where I was making about the same on YouTube that I was making with my other restaurant jobs. And if I was able to put more into my YouTube, I was like, maybe I'd be able to survive. And if not, like, I can just get another restaurant job. You know, I was like, it's not like those aren't disposable. I'm not really sure if that answered your question. How did you learn to do your makeup? It's always so amazing. Thank you. A lot of YouTube and hours on end in my bathroom by myself, just like doing my best and praying. That's not the answer you probably wanted. It's just a lot of experimentation of like what shades work on me and how to apply certain things, and just really depending on like what I like and what I'm going for that day, and a lot of YouTube and experimentation. I mean, I could certainly try. Would you say that your views are radical? Yes. I didn't get a chance to ask in your Q&A yesterday, so can we ask anything? Oh yeah, I remember getting this. I'm high-key nosy and I want to know about this partner of yours totally not stalking the posts with the tatted arms showing up in your posts. I don't really know what else to say about it. I mean, I've posted him on this vlog. I've posted him in my vlogs before, so I don't really know. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a lot of questions about my dating life. I'm so behind and under a rock. Did you and the guy from the friend group break up? Yes, we did. You know, like we're adults. It just didn't, he wanted different things. I wanted different things. He wanted to stay in Colorado and have a house and, you know, live the American dream essentially. And I think if you watch my content, that's definitely not my vibe, but I'm glad that we did, because I think I would have spent the rest of my life having that like what if. So do you ever deal with imposter syndrome? You have always seemed very confident. Thank you. I mean, I appreciate that. I think I'm confident because I don't actually know why. I don't know if it's like ignorance or if I'm just like stupid enough to be confident, but I deal with imposter syndrome a lot because I'm an artist in so many different ways. Like I'm a YouTuber, I'm a photographer. I draw a lot and do like paintings, even though that's much more of a hobby now. I used to be in the music industry. That did not go how I wanted it to. That is not my thing. And I also am a pole dancer. You know, like there's a lot of things that I deal with imposter syndrome, not only just like umbrella, but like in each niche for sure. So short answer, yes, I deal with it all the time, but really just getting the hell off of social media is, that's the way to go. Can you share more about how you realized you were Demi? Oh, I might make like a separate video for this, but a really quick answer for this is I have always grown up just being like, I don't really get the whole sex thing. I don't know why people are interested in it. Like it's never been something that I was interested in or that, you know, was a factor of attraction for me for all of my upbringing. And then when I met a very, very handful of people, like I can count on one hand of how many people that I became, at least on my end, became very emotionally attached to and like connected to. And I felt like we saw each other on a certain realm. All of a sudden I was like, oh, Oh, this is what people were talking about. I understand. Okay. And the separation of like a sexual drive and sexual attraction, those are also very confusing, or those were also very confusing of like, why do I feel this way but not towards anybody? I don't really know. I don't know. I came into the word demisexual and learned about the aspec when I was probably like 19. So it was way later in the game. And that was like a big, oh, okay, moment for me, big aha moment. So that was interesting to learn about. But if you want a little more, before I maybe make that demi video, because I'm not really totally sure if I will, just because it's like pretty personal, but I think it would help other people. So I think maybe I just need to figure out how to structure it correctly. But if you want more, there are 2 books that I read. There's one called The Invisible Orientation. I am blanking on both of the authors' names, I'm sorry, but I'll put them up here in the description. And one called Ace. So the invisible orientation is more of like an overview of understanding the ace spectrum, and then Ace is more of a bunch of different people that are on the ace spectrum and their personal experiences. So both of them I think are worth the read. Both of them are pretty easy to read. But yeah, well, maybe I'll make a video on that because it seems like a lot of people are interested in that. What's your sexuality? I am demisexual. For a really long time, I was just kind of like, if I like somebody, that's how it is. But most of the time, I don't like people. What a lot of people have kind of like given me options of labels is demisexual and panromantic. So I don't really care what kind of gears we're working with. It's just, if I like you, then I will like you. Have you or would you date a woman asking for me? I think, yes, I have, and I would again. Who is the tatted man? Oh my God. All right. First of all, there's no need to shout. Yes, this is my new man. And I have also already posted him. Do I play any instruments? I play guitar and ukulele, and I used to play the viola. I don't think I could do it anymore. So maybe I wouldn't consider that I play that anymore. I love how you film your content, especially when you're traveling. Do you have any photography or filmmaking tips that you can share? Lots of love. Thank you. First of all, there's so many things. I'm probably going to make an over tea video about this where I just talk your ear off about photography and film. I'm by no means one of the better YouTubers like visually out there, but I really love it. So I think the biggest thing that I try to think about is how do I want my viewer to feel? I want my viewer to feel as close as I can to how I was feeling, more likely than not. So if you look at a lot of my other vlogs, like some of them are super high energy, some of them are very, very lighthearted, and some of them are kind of slower and maybe like a little more melancholy. And it's just, like I kind of want to capture what I was feeling in that and bottle it so that I can watch it later. And also hopefully have other viewers who are not me feel something similar. So that is the thing that controls everything else. My composition, how am I going to do that? Was I feeling small and insignificant? Was I feeling powerful? Was this a very fast-paced trip or fast-paced story? Or was it very slow and easygoing and relaxing? I just try to really hone in on how I was feeling. And so then how am I going to use that to translate that in my composition? If I'm feeling small, I'm going to make me, the subject, small. I'm going to make me a very small subject in all of how you see. I'm not going to be up and close to the camera. And also a lot of my angles are going to be shot from above so that I look smaller, right? And vice versa. If I feel a lot more powerful or I feel like there's a lot more of like where I have a lot more domineering energy in this video, then I'm going to shoot from lower and make me or the subject look taller and more domineering. I also try to have multiple sets of the same thing. And that means a couple things. Walking down a street, maybe I'll have 3 or 4 shots of me walking down the street, but it's not going to be the same thing. I'm not just shooting me walking down the street three times. I'm going to maybe have like a wide shot where you see my full body walking through, and then maybe a medium shot where I'm walking with the camera, and then maybe a shot of my feet. Either I'm holding the camera and you're walking with me, or I have it set down and I walk past. Maybe it's focused on a detail that I really liked of the city or of that street, and then in the background blurry, you can see me walking past, you know, something like that. So you have a bunch of different shots still explaining to my viewer the feeling through, you know, through composition and through like colors and through colors. But that's a little harder to do when you're vlogging. So I usually try to do that. And I think also it's just story driven. I really want my viewer to feel like they went on the trip with me. You know, like, okay, we're packing, we're at the airport, we're leaving, we got there. This is kind of our vibe today. And then like we try to do the next day. And I really liked my Portland vlog for that. Whereas I feel like it captured a lot of feelings that I was feeling. And it also had this kind of like slow, more easygoing feeling that I was feeling when I was there. And it captured these moments where I talked to people and people spoke to me mainly about my camera. And then the Philly vlog was a little more upbeat. And I thought that that was a lot of fun because, again, I kind of got that. So I hope that that helped. I could totally talk your ear off about that. Have you traveled to that has resonated the most deeply or most surprisingly? See, this is a hard question because I think every place that I've ever traveled to resonates in a completely different way. And also, if I were to go back now, I would probably have a completely different perspective or experience than I did the first time that I went. What was the best coffee in your travels? I think actually Philly. There was a place that had a there was a place that had a cherry old fashioned, but it was coffee instead of whiskey. Honestly, that was so good, except I was like phasing through the walls because I had that Anna Cortado. I don't know why I thought that that was a good idea, but it was really, really good. I don't know. I've had some really good coffee in a lot of places. Oh, actually Stumptown. I think that's Portland based, but that was in New York for like the 22 hours, but I was in Manhattan and I went to Stumptown. It was like this little Portland based coffee shop and there was a rose and cardamom latte. Shit was so good. You know what's funny is, again, like perspective wise, sometimes, especially when I was doing my solo road trips and I would sleep in the back of my car at like truck stops and gas stations and stuff, I'd get up at 5 or 6 a.m., go into the gas station, get like one of the just like shitty drip coffees and like a Slim Jim and just hit the road. Honestly, that was like some of the best coffee I've ever had. And I think it was more of the experience because obviously nobody's actually enjoying gas station coffee. Is the tattered cover in Denver really that good of a bookstore? Can it compete with Powell's? Hell no, it can't. Tattered cover is fine. It's that sounds so mean. It's basically like a Barnes & Noble, but not Barnes & Noble. However, I think Barnes & Noble just bought them. I'm going to fact check myself. But either way, it's fine. It's not Powell's. It's not Powell's. Tattered cover is cute and it's fine. Sorry, tattered cover. I don't mean to like talk shit. I'm not trying to, but I'm just saying that if you really want like really good local bookstores, well, none of them are going to be Powell's because none of them are Powell's. Okay, like y'all win, and I'm jealous. There, I said it. But I actually have a local bookstore map that is collaborative. So if you have bookstores that are local that you want to support, you can also add them. I'll leave that in the link as well. But Petals and Pages is really cute. It's also like a queer bookstore, and they have all these different things that they do every month. Oh God, West Side Books is a used bookstore, one of my favorites. But either way, there are a lot of other bookstores that are local to Denver that I think outdo Tattered Cover, not by size by any means, but definitely by vibes. And sometimes prices. Just don't shop Amazon. Okay, if you were invited to a tarot-themed fancy dress party, which tarot card would you go dressed as? Queen of Swords. Or Death, obviously. That was the obvious one. But Queen of Swords, I want to be in full knight's armor. Okay, no. I want to have a dress that's complicated, that I could fight in, that could also be knight's armor. And I want a large sword. And I just want to look like a bitch. Like a mean bitch, not like you look like a bitch. Yeah. Okay. I think those are all the personal questions. Okay, that is it. Let's move on to the poll questions. Okay, we are at Hard Candy, the pole studio in Denver, to answer some of the pole-related questions. So the first question is, where do you buy your sexy clothes? When I first started, it was just bikinis or, things that I felt like looked kind of good. A lot of the time, when I first started, it was really just whatever I had, like what I would wear to a fitness class. So it wasn't super sexy. But where I started to buy them are more pole specific based companies, pricier because they are specifically for this niche. My favorite brands at the moment are they changed their name, C19 CXIX brand. They have a lot more of like the strappy type of stuff, the frilly things. That's probably the main one. I mean, this one is something I got at Target a few years back. I will wear really just like crop tops and just anything that I think looks cute, and then fishnets. I'll usually get fishnets either online. They'll sell them like in a pack of 3, depending on where you get them. They're a lot cheaper than going to like a sex shop. And then also sex shops. Sex shops are a really great place to look for any kind of dance outfit. Just keep in mind that they are itty bitty. I mean, they're sex shops, so you might have to double layer. Tips on finding a pole aesthetic that you like. I struggle with watching myself and not liking it. Practice. Finding inspiration from other people that you like, and it doesn't even have to be their full style that you like. It can just be, I really liked that little move. Like the way that they did that pirouette, the way that they did that spin, the way that they flipped their hair, whatever, like that. Just pick out little things that you like and try to kind of recreate it. It's going to feel weird because if it's not something that your body is used to, it's just going to feel weird. But like the more you try it, the more you do it, you're just going to kind of fall into an aesthetic that you naturally feel good in. Also, dance to music that makes you want to dance. Like dance to music that inspires you, because if you are listening to music that doesn't inspire you to move, you're not going to be in the headspace, you're not going to be in that groove. So dance to music that makes you want to dance. Dress the way you want to dress, so anything that makes you feel really good and that you like looking at yourself in. Do master studies. That's something that I think art students do, where like I said, you find somebody who does something that you like and the way that they do it you really like, and you kind of just try to recreate it. So try recreating a choreo of somebody's that you liked, or just like a flip, or just like a spin, or even just a movement that you really like, just recreating it and trying to see how that feels for you. And my last tip is play with prompts. So I pick an animal and try to move like that animal, or move like joy, or move like grief, or move like somebody just ripped your heart out. Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you both? Are you devastated? Did they betray you? Was it more of like a mutual understanding, but it still hurts? Like, I don't know. Pick a prompt and dance with that, or even just something simpler, like play with a piece of your clothing for the whole entire freestyle. So go for a freestyle and play with something that you're wearing, and you'll find that you pick up these little tiny things that you actually really like, and that you think, that looks good on me, that feels good on me. So you continue to do that and throw that into freestyles. And the more and more you do this, you'll find these little bits and you'll be able to like layer them on. And eventually that becomes your pole aesthetic. Is there a specific way to buy a specific choreo for some of your pole flows? Yes, I offer that on my Patreon. So I no longer have a Patreon tier just for pole students, but I do have each of those choreos broken down into tutorials, and you can buy those choreos, or even little basics, or even basic combos, or just kind of like a walkthrough of certain spins, certain moves. That type of stuff is available on my Patreon. I'm a pole newbie and I'm nervous about my bits popping out of my bottoms. Any advice? Yes, double layer, always. And find underwear or like a thong of some sort that you feel comfortable, that completely covers you, and then wear all of your cute stuff on top of that. So I think it varies from state to state, but I know that if you're dancing in the clubs here in Colorado, you're required to wear double layers. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but from what I remember, it was a requirement that you had to wear double layers, unless it was a full nude club. But you are required to wear doubles. So if you can find like a nude panty that fits you and that feels good on you and that you are like, that's not slipping out of the way, then that's a really good way to go. Or I have seen some people wear nylons, but that's not really helpful for any aerial tricks or like leg grips. So take that with a grain of salt. That wouldn't be my personal preference, but if you're more of like a floor work type of person, then maybe nylons that fit you underneath all of the tiny outfits. Where do you get your fabulous dancewear pants? I'm a shorty and I see you don't have any wraparound under the feet. Do you alter them? So I think you're talking about these. I get questions on these all the time. I don't know if they still sell them. That is also from C19 Creatures of XIX is what they used to be called, whatever, from there. And no, I do not alter them. They just come pretty fitted. So that's all of the pole related questions for this Q&A. Also peep the pole witch beanie. I revamped them, so this is on my website and I'm really digging them. But if you have any other pole related questions, I did do a Q&A a few years back, so you can watch that if that's helpful, but we'll go on to the next segment. Okay, let's do the witchy questions. First question is, do you ever feel conflicted? Do you ever feel conflicted about spell work? Sometimes I think about whether or not I should be asking to alter my situation or my mindset, and it keeps me from doing anything but overthink. Hope you're having a happy Wednesday. Thank you. My first go-to is divination. I will usually just throw some cards, or I'll use my throwing kit and see what I get from that. And most of the time it's pretty clear, even if I'm like, I really want to do a spell for it, and my cards are usually like, no, if I don't need to. So that's usually my go-to. Some people like to ask the spirits that they work with, they will ask them, okay, if I should be doing something about it, if I have like a crossroads or like a fork of like, do I go this way? Do I go this way? Send me this very, very specific sign, not like send me a blue car, right? Like send me like a pink peacock if I need to go this way, and send me something just as obscure if I need to go this way. So then you have a very clear answer of which way to go. Can I banish myself out of a bad living situation? You could. I wouldn't suggest it. Going about changing something like a living situation, that's a little bit of a bigger thing than, say, the gym that you frequent. This is the place that you live. This is like a bigger thing, so you're gonna need more layers and a bigger spell, or like multiple spells to hit at different spots. If you just banish yourself out of your house, which you totally can do if that's what you want to do, where are you going? I've definitely hotfoot myself out of places accidentally. It happens to the best of us, but I would highly suggest hitting from different points, making sure that you have your ass covered first before you get yourself out of there. Making sure that you have your finances covered and another place to live that you are able to afford and that you like, and kind of like setting up your situation that you're going into next before just hightailing it out of the current situation. Bad living situations suck, so I hope that you can get out of that situation quickly and safely. But yeah, definitely set up yourself better before you just like banish yourself and then not have a place to go or not have places that you're able to afford. Are you going to bring back your mainly witchy content to your channel? I miss it. Probably not. Sorry. Honestly, the witchy content gets me a lot of really fucking weird people. And I mean that disrespectfully. My emails can get really weird. My DMs get really weird. The comments get really bot flooded. A lot of my practice is incredibly personal. Like, I'm not going to show you the spells that I'm doing that are incredibly vulnerable. Like, that's like asking you to write down some of your deepest traumas or some of like the things that are happening in your very personal life with your family or your partners or your friends, or something with yourself that like doesn't need to be public, right? And then being like, will you put that on camera? So it's kind of hard. And then on top of that, like lastly, I think the biggest thing is it doesn't inspire me as much as everything else does. Like I love the craft. Honestly, this could be a whole over tea video because I have a lot of gripes with this. Not you or your question, just like this idea of what the craft is and what it should look like and how it should feel and compared to like what it actually is. Because there's witchcraft in my videos. In every video that I post, there is witchcraft in there. I just rarely point it out or spoon feed it anymore. There's witchcraft happening right now. Like, if you can look at my charms, you know, there's witchcraft happening. There's witchcraft back here. The spells that I do talk about, maybe I don't show, but if I do talk about them, if I talk about, oh, I'm doing this spell so that I can travel more, like in 2023. And then if you notice, all of 2024, I think I traveled somewhere almost every single month. That's insane. So, you know, it's more of seeing the manifestation, I think, on my channel and less about step-by-step. Also, there's so many step-by-step stuff out there. There's so many books. It's oversaturated, if I'm being totally honest. And the way that I like to present my craft is how I'm living it, you know, not just at the altar. I'm doing my craft when I'm teaching classes, when I'm dancing, when I am doing art, when I'm editing and filming my videos, when I'm taking care of my plants, when I'm gardening, when I am changing with the seasons. A lot of people comment about like how my wardrobe and my makeup changes. It's because I'm seasonal. I show it to you when I'm visiting the graveyard and visiting the cemeteries and visiting the spirits that I know or that I begin to meet. You know, I'm showing it to you. I'm just not framing it in this deeply witchy way that I think people expect the craft to look like. I just get this question a lot, and I think I have trouble answering it in like one concise way. So maybe I'll do an over tea video about that too. I'm feeling really fucking chatty lately. I don't know why. But I think that'd be a really good topic to talk about, because I do post witchy things, but just not witchy content. Yeah. Okay, I hope that answered your question. How do you get graveyard dirt without running afoul of disgruntled caretakers? Do you make friends with one of the caretakers, and is the dirt contaminated with nasty embalming fluids? I've never really come into contact with the caretakers for the most part, and if I do, I'm not getting graveyard dirt at that time, like right then and there. I guess it just depends on your cemetery. Each cemetery and graveyard is different, but more likely than not, like, you getting graveyard dirt should not be something that is drawing attention. Like, you should not be showing up with a shovel. Spoonful of like a teaspoon to tablespoon of graveyard dirt will do wonders for whatever you're working. You do not need a full jar. You should not be taking a full jar. There are very, very minimal situations that I can think about that you would need that much. And more likely than not, you won't. And then, is the dirt contaminated with nasty embalming fluids? It shouldn't be. They should be in their caskets. You shouldn't be digging the 6 feet deep to be getting that close anyway, even if for some reason there were embalming fluids. Any recommendations for folk magic for the upcoming political landscape for LGBTQ? Urban Wizard posts a lot of political witchcraft, I think, especially with LGBTQ. If that's your specific kind of vibe, then definitely Marshall, Witch of Southern Light. He is a fantastic resource for that. Again, half of this isn't going to look or feel witchy, but it is going to be a line into it, right? So what I really cannot stress enough, especially if you are able to, go to community meetings, your town hall meetings of new urban landscapes, of like things that they're planning, of vote in your local community. Your practice and your presence in general is going to be so much more potent if you are local, if you are targeting local community, local government. First of all, this makes it a little more, and it also makes us not feel so small in this political climate. You know, like, we're looking at these huge things that are happening, but if we really want to hone in and really make a big difference, go local. So as an example, with your craft involved, say that you are in a meeting. So there's this land for sale, right? There's a big plot of land for sale. You see it. So in your next community meeting, they're talking about, there are 2 different people that are planning to buy it. On the one hand, there's one buyer that wants to create basically a big parking lot with a few shops that are chain shops. Or there's another one that wants to create maybe a small walkable plaza with a bunch of different third spaces and small businesses that are locally owned. Which one would you prefer? Which one do you think is more beneficial for your community? So if you already know that that's happening, you know where this land is, I personally would be like, okay, I'm going to cast my vote on who we should sell to, and then I'm gonna go to this plot and maybe get a flyer or maybe like a business card, anything of that company that's selling, and a little bit of dirt from that area. And then I can use that to work, to then push to sell to the buyer that I think is going to be more beneficial for my local community. As well as, like if you're specifically looking for LGBTQ type of stuff, I would highly recommend going to your local LGBTQ centers and really supporting them. So you could run like a donation drive, or you could, again, get a business card from that place or a little bit of dirt from that place, maybe adding that into your protection or your abundance workings so that you know that you can protect this space that queer people and queer kids can go to and have for a safe space and resources. So really, again, like, this is about showing up. Like, I know that we can cast all the spells, we can light all the candles, we can show up to Zoom calls, but I mean, like, show up. Like, go join your HOA. As fun as that sounds, but like, join your HOA. And even if it's just your apartment complex, right? Like, you're still changing things that people you live around for the better, hopefully, right? Like, if you can have a say of, oh, my apartment complex, like, we have this little big plot of land in the middle of our courtyard, we should do a community garden. Bring that up. See if you can make that happen. See if you can meet all of your neighbors that you live with. In the US, people are so hyper individualistic. I bet you anything you don't know the person that lives right next to you, or the person across from you, or even the people who live in the same hallway or on the same block. Like, how well do you know them? Do you know their names? Do you know what they do for work? Do you know what their favorite kind of food is? Like, build community. Build community. Build community. Cast a lot of protections for your community and the people that you care about. And really try to implement change magically and, like, showing up and actually doing the thing. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. This is something that I am really passionate about, and yeah, I think is really important. So I'll get off my soapbox, but very good question. Thank you. How do you balance bad mental health with your craft? I feel like I'm failing my spiritual team. Oh my God. Y'all have so many good questions that I feel like I could do so many overteas with. And you know what? Maybe I might. The world's not great right now, so I get it. First of all, you're not going to be failing your spiritual team. The only time that I would say that, like, is if you have ongoing contracts with spirits. So in a sense, Frankie made a really great video up here. I'm just going to link that for spirit contracts. But if you hire somebody to do a job and you're like, you have a job now, I'm just going to continuously pay you as you do this job, and then you just stop paying them, they're not going to be happy. So as long as you're not doing that, or if you are and you really know that you just can't keep up with that, give them a final payment and end the contract. It's not just like a fizzle out. Give like a one last like big set of offerings, a big thanks, and then like make sure that it's known that you're ending the contract, and then end it. Otherwise, the spirits that are around you have always been around you. The ones that, like the ancestors and your guides, or any kind of familiar spirits, anything like that, have always been around you and aren't really expecting consistent things like that. I am definitely not consistent with anything in my life. So I'm always moving around. I can't make promises like that. So, and also my energy levels are also very low in general. So when my mental health takes a dip, it gets way lower. And honestly, I don't practice all that much. Like, if I don't have the energy, because it's all energy work is what the craft is. If I don't have the energy, I'm not going to do it. I will do my best to maybe meditate for like 2 minutes. Like, I take it, not even bite-size bits, but like nibbles. I try to do what I can when I have the energy and the time, the motivation. But if my mental health is not doing well, I don't really know what I'm going to provide for my craft. So I don't do it. I allow myself to first heal up and get back into it, and then I can go back into my craft. I hope that answered your question. But you're likely not failing your spiritual team as long as you didn't go out and make any spiritual contracts. End those if you need to. How has your practice changed in the past 2 years? That's specific. Because I traveled so much on and off last year, a lot of it became wearables. So like so much of my craft is things that I can either take with me or things that I can create on the go. A lot of my craft isn't any longer like my altars at home or like big candles or candles at all, really, unless I'm at home, obviously. But for the most part, a lot of my craft has actually went from simple when I first started, and then I got more complex, and like did all these things and had all these like crazy, I don't even know. Like it was really unneeded, in my opinion. Wasn't vibing. And then now I like dove back down, and now I'm at like the foundations again. Except the thing is because I've had so many years of working with my foundations, they are very, very strong. So what's that quote? I fear a man who has practiced the same kick 1,000 times over a man who knows 1,000 different kicks. Something like that. It's definitely gotten more simplified, but more potent in that way. So yes, everything is simple. They're just charms. They're just sigils. They're just straight up energy work or, talking to spirits, but it's actually more potent than prior. But I mean, practice. That's why it's called a practice. Hi, Olivia. Hello. I love your Q&A videos. Thank you for waiting for this one. You once talked about the shadow figures or the watchers, and I had one in my home and it seemed very off. It crawled on all fours instead of walking upright. I noticed it after the ritual that I did for my ancestors. Do you have any recommendations on protecting my home in the future from a negative spirit while still being able to welcome other spirits? Yes. Okay, so I would say, I don't know because I wasn't there. I didn't interact or see or sense the spirit, but I've had those watchers, and those watchers specifically, those are a little more sentient than the usual kind of watchers where it's just like, oh, they're just chilling and like siphoning energy and just really fucking creepy. The one that you're talking about are similar to the ones that, I don't know if I talked about it in that video, where it felt like there were accumulation of them on my window, like mouths gaping against the window and trying to like siphon in this energy and just like drain. So that sucks. I'm glad you only had one, but still those are so fucking creepy and uncomfortable. It sounds like you got rid of it. You noticed it after you did a ritual for your ancestors. Likely it's because you raised a lot of energy with those ancestors and maybe being noticed in the spiritual realm, which happens when you are doing any kind of ritual or spell work. I would highly recommend setting up wards around your home for negative and ill-intended spirits, and any spirits that were sent towards you. Definitely recommend setting up these wards within houseplants because they tell you really quickly if there's anything going wrong. And also just like the corners of your home. I have multiple corners. I just do my best to get into the parameters. Floor washes, and especially the washes that go on door frames and window frames. Those cleansing and also warding agents into your cleaning schedule, that helps. But yeah, usually watchers aren't super difficult to get rid of, so I'm glad that was good, but those are so fucking creepy. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. What are some ways that you practice the craft daily? Big, planned out rituals aren't bad, especially this time of year, they're really hard to do. I'm trying to find little ways to incorporate my spirituality into my day-to-day life, but I don't know where to start. I got you. Also, somebody replied to you, and I don't know if you saw it. For everybody else, this person has a perfect example. I started washing my clothes by hand and viewing cooking and eating as spiritual and as a ritual to say thanks to the Creator. I actually used my intention to buy the best spices for a salmon I cooked today, and saying thanks for everything and anything is the best place to start. So I completely agree. I think gratitude is a fantastic way to begin that, and even just slowing the fuck down. I think especially if you're in the US and trapped in this capitalistic hell, slowing down is really hard, but it's so important for the craft specifically. Because if you think about, way back when, our ancestors, way back when, we had so much time to observe. There was so much time to sit and to listen and to just exist. And not that they weren't working all the time, but there was time to do that. Really trying to use things, everyday things, like this other person said, like the Dimension channel, fancy name, mentioned. Cooking is a great way to start. Maybe not for me, because I hate cooking. I don't hate it as much as I used to. I'm starting to like it a little more. Not that much, but a little more. But for me specifically, I will incorporate my craft into when I'm teaching dance or when I'm dancing for myself. That's one of the oldest ways to raise energy, to summon forms of ritual. So I would highly recommend having some kind of movement in your day-to-day. So even if that's just like taking a walk around the block while you're walking your dog, really just taking that time to notice the plants and the animals around you, to really be like, oh, it's a really nice day, and like feel the sun on your skin. Or maybe it's really, really cold, frigidness of that cold, but kind of be like, that reminds me that I'm alive. Incorporating things into cleaning, incorporating things into how you set up your space is a really good way to start, and just kind of have that in general of like how the energy flows in your space, and like wearing jewelry or charms or carrying things with you, even putting just a little bit of oil on every day of whatever intention that you have set for that day or whatever you need. So there's a lot of like little tiny things that you can do every single day that are not big rituals. I'm not a big ritual type of person. It's not my kind of deal, but every once in a while, but not often. Hi, Olivia. Hello. What are the things that you would say that have strengthened and deepened your craft? Love your content. Thank you. I think simplifying it, to be honest. Again, like the foundations are so important, of having good foundations. Using my dance as an example. If I were to judge a pole dance competition, I'm going to be so much more impressed by someone who has clearly honed in on having the very foundational moves so good to the point that they do it in a way that I've never seen, but they're still doing these foundational moves, or they're doing it in a way that only the way that they're moving, the way that they're expressing is the way that they can do it. They have like done this foundation so much and so well that it's impressive. I'd be more impressed with this person who's doing things that I see in a level 1 class compared to somebody who's whipping out shit that I see in a level 3, 4, 5 class. And they're showing me all these tricks they can do. They're not showing me the way that they can do this trick. So again, the 1,000 kicks type of deal. I think that's strengthened my craft a lot. Like these things of having a really strong cleansing agent and warding agent in all of my cleaning supplies, or having all of these charms on me, and knowing kind of like the recipe of like, okay, if I do these 3 charms together and leave out this one today, or if I have these 2 and leave out the other 2, or something like that, and knowing kind of how that energy shifts and changes, what I need that day, what I'm going to get out of that day. As well as like knowing how to craft a really strong sigil. Things of that sort. I think just going all the way back. And I notice this with a lot of people in all of their crafts, or, even if it's like art or dance or anything that they work within. People start at like the foundation. It's a little rickety. They learn a lot, and then they go straight back to the foundations. And it's so cool to see that. You need that hump. You need that like learning all of the complex stuff, because there's an aspect of that learning that and then applying that to the foundations that create that really strong foundation. I think that made sense. If you could instantly obtain a master's level of knowledge and experience in any occult or esoteric practice, what practice would it be in, and what purpose would you use it? Spirit communication. If I could communicate with spirits like just so easy, my knowledge would be endless, because all of the spirits have all of that knowledge, right? Whether that be a spirit of a past practitioner or a spirit that is not human and wants to teach other occult things. So spirit communication would be my first go-to. What is your favorite spell and or ritual you've ever done, and why? I don't know if I have one. What do close people in your life, like family and friends, ever ask you for magical aid in something? It's rare, but sometimes they do. And like when they do, it's very general of like, hey, can you just throw out some protection for me? Or like, can you, kind of push me in this direction? Or like, maybe can you can I ask you for like a reading? But it is very, very rare. So yeah, sometimes. Love your videos and the glimpses of your life traveling and that you share with us. I wish you well and a wonderful Yule and winter. Thank you. That dates this when I should have been getting this out. Okay, I think those are all the questions. Again, thank you so much for waiting months for this to come out. But I really enjoyed all those questions, and I think you have all given me plenty of topics that I could probably rant on and on about. So maybe I'll come out with those later on. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Be kind to each other, and may your gods treat you as you've treated others. And stay curious, because you never know what you might learn. Bye.